Houston, and you're listening to Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. It's my great pleasure to be speaking with Trixter Drummer Mark Scott. How you doing today, Mark?
Jason, my friend, I'm kicking some butt here in Arizona, getting the sunshine, and man, you're not.
Yeah.
So get on a plane. Let's do it. What do you say, pal?
Well, I'm in beautiful sunny Los Angeles, so I'm getting plenty of sun here.
Smoggy Los Angeles? I couldn't quite hear you there.
Yeah. Well, of course, Mark, I'm really happy to be talking to you today because, like many people, I'm a Trixter fan. But your press, I got the press release for this. I guess you're currently working on a holiday album. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you say a holiday album. People sometimes look at me with a crooked head. They see me as the drummer in a rock band, and then you're putting on a holiday album of drums. You know, it's actually before I played drums, I played trumpet.
Okay.
I was like somewhat of a hot shot in high school, and did very well. Actually, attended the University of Hartford's Hart School of Music when I was just a sophomore in high school, and got to record 3 double albums of classical music with the orchestra there. It was really an amazing experience, the kind of education that most kids that age don't get, and it was really just something very rewarding, really amazing. But at one point in time, I sold my trumpet for cymbal money and went rock and roll crazy. But I tell you, it's funny. More recently, everybody's been doing these solo projects or sideline projects, and I thought to myself, well, what the hell am I going to do? And I started picking up my horn again, and I don't know, man, something called out to me and said, do a song, and the song Ave Maria came to mind, so I went over to Pete's house, Pete Lauren, the singer from Trixter. He's here in Phoenix, and we put up a mic, and we did a couple of takes, and we were like, you know what, this song's pretty good, so we just kept going with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
It's amazing, it's kind of, when I saw the video for the song Ave Maria, that's exactly kind of the thought process went through my. Wow, this is a drummer from Trixter. Wow, he can, he can do more than just play the drums. So I think one thing when people first see the video and then they hopefully get the album, they're going to find out, wow, there's more to this guy than just beating the drums.
It's really true. I mean, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, like looking at it, like if I looked at Alex Van Halen,
yeah,
he's coming out with a holiday album, I said, what the hell is he doing? So I don't really. It's hard to really, I guess, get a full perspective of what that's like. But I'm telling you, for me, it's kind of funny. I say that being a musician is kind of like a selfish sort of thing. Yeah. We do it because we can't help it. We have this feeling inside, and when we want to record something, we do it for us. We do it because we have this feeling. We want to convey that feeling. If everybody else likes it, that's great. But if they didn't like it, we would do it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I did with this whole trumpet thing. Picked up the horn, I thought about that song, Ave Maria, and I said, oh man, I really like that song. I want to make it sound just like this. So I went to Pete's house, and we did the studio thing, and we started mixing a little, like, man, this sounds really good. So the idea of not sharing it with the world or posting it or putting it out there, that would be crime.
Yeah, and the thing to me about doing a solo project is that's kind of the whole point. I mean, when you go outside your regular band, you kind of want to do something different. That's the whole point of it,
I agree 100%. This really is different. Matter of fact, I didn't even play drums on this record.
Wow.
I sort of did electronically. I did some timpani, and there is a dance tune that has like a house beat, like a
Wow.
But I didn't actually play the drums. I programmed them.
And now let me ask you, Mark, are you the only one that?
It's radically different than the stuff we've done with Trixter, that's for sure.
And are you the only one that is playing on the album? Like, do you have other musicians playing with you on the album, or do you play everything?
Actually, the only other there's a few other musicians. Pete did all the electric guitar. I must admit, I suck on guitar. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a couple, and I play for 3 minutes. I'm like, oh, my wrist hurts. I can't hold my hand that way. I have like a drummer that holds with palms down, with a guitar, your palms up, and I can't make that happen. I have like this weird wrist thing or something. I don't know. I feel so uncomfortable. I hate playing guitar. So Pete, thank God, he can play the guitar pretty good. There's one song that's kind of rocked out, Little Drummer Boy. It's actually a dance tune towards the end. We put some heavy metal guitar on it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. That's a really hot tune. So I said, Pete, you got to play this, dude. So it's like, all right.
And now let me ask you
I had to buy him lunch for that one.
Well, let me ask you, a guy that's been playing the drums all these years, drumming is a real physical thing. So how cool is it like to kind of not have to be so physical, just kind of go in the studio and be a little more laid back.
I got to tell you, it's a little weird. One inspiration I've had is Kenny G, and I watch him for the way it should be done right. I mean, he's the #1 instrumental artist in the world as far as sales, as far as how long. But that man is a player. He's really got game when it comes to making that sort of thing, being the lead voice on an instrument. So I kind of take direction from guys like that. So I tried to capture that essence into what I was doing with this whole thing, and I think I did pretty good. I mean, I'm not the master, but you know, I'll certainly fight on his coattails a little bit.
Wow, how cool is that? Now, of course, the Ave Maria, I understand. I seen the video, very cool video, and I understand your son directed it. What was that like?
You know, the weird thing is, this whole thing with New York and D.C., I've been there when I was a kid and stuff like that, and even as an adult, you know, but I grew up in New Jersey and upstate New York, and I was always in very close proximity to New York City.
Yeah.
And I had been, you know, around the city a bunch, but I'm telling you, when my kid started getting older, he wanted to go to the city. Dad, take me to the city. I want to go to the Empire State Building. I want to go here. I want to go there. I'm like, all right, you know, so for me, it was always like, it's kind of a pain in the neck. You got to pay the toll. We got to we got to do parking, you know. So, but the thing is, his excitement, he couldn't wait to get over there. And we went once, he wanted to go again, and he wanted to go again. And then my other 2 girls wanted to go. So it's kind of weird. They kind of reignited this love for the city through them, you know, because they were so into it and like, man, this is so cool, you know. So I guess maybe I took it for granted being there for so long.
Yeah.
But they kind of rekindled this new interest in me for finding new places to go, to see the city from different spots. I took one of my daughters in a helicopter all over the city, and I can't tell you what a great time we had. And that's like a priceless moment you share with your kids. And New York City was the background for that.
Wow.
So the idea that 9/11 was coming up, I said to Brandon, I said, let's do a tribute. He had made some videos in the past as a little kid, and he was doing great. So I said, dude, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to New York, we're going to go to D.C., and you're producing the whole darn thing. You tell me where to stand, you tell me what to do. And so he directed everything. I put it all in his hands. I said, dude, as long as the lighting's good, show me where I'm standing. What am I doing? All right, here you go. Back to the right, to the left, up. Right there, hold it. And 1, 2, roll the cue. We roll the music and lip synced over it. And the lip sync, made it look like I was playing, you know. But I'll tell you, man, he did it all. And he edited it. I changed a couple of shots because I liked a couple of shots better. You know what I mean? But otherwise, he killed it.
I imagine.
Killed it.
Yeah, I imagine quite a different experience seeing filming this video than say back in the Trixter days, like you know, give it to me good and that.
Man, I'm telling you what, the thing that's so cool is that this whole solo project, it's not an industry project. This is coming from me, and my son is the guy that ignited the passion for the whole thing. You know what I mean?
That is so cool. That is so.
Yeah, we took the song, and instead of like putting it on iTunes and blowing it out and just collecting cash, we actually we formed an alliance with a charity called Hope for Children International, Hope for Kids International. And the amazing part, we're taking all the money that's generated from Ave Maria and we're donating it to the charity.
Wow.
So, you know, the idea is that it's not a business adventure. This is something that we share with the world, that we can make the world a better place. And you know what, man? It's like the coolest thing I've ever done. I absolutely love it. The work that Hope for Kids International does on a worldwide scale is truly amazing. They take kids that lose their parents or are in third world villages, and they build wells, they build schools, they build hospitals, they put people through law school. I mean, it's unbelievable. They've been doing it since the 70s. And I tell you, just to be a part of what they do and to speak on their behalf, I can't tell you how honored I am and what an amazing thing it is to do. I can't tell you just how happy the whole project's made.
Wow, and how did you hook up with them? Because that is truly a great organization, does something like that.
I'll tell you, man, they've had a presence for a long time. They've got one of their major offices in Phoenix, and a friend pointed me in that direction. I was looking at a bunch of different charities, a bunch of military charities, and particularly, I got a soft spot for military.
Of course.
But when they brought this to my attention, this is one of the few charities, and this is unbelievable, one of the few charities that 90% or more of the revenue goes to the kids and the cause, not some guy's limousine parked outside.
Yeah.
There's so many of these charities put up a front like, oh, we do all this great stuff or they make the TV commercial, and they have all the high-level sponsors and all that baloney. But, man, let me tell you what. They find loopholes, and a lot of the cash does not go to the cause.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of people go on Google and check out Hope for Kids International. You will see that they are the real freaking deal. I went to the offices personally. I talked to the high-level execs, and I know exactly what's going on. Everybody that works at the organization goes to Uganda, goes to Cairo, goes to everywhere that they actually have projects going on. They all have kids that they've adopted. They're invested in the whole idea of what they do, not just pushing paper.
Well,
and you know what, man? That is so... That's like such a core element of what the heck's up. I mean, honestly, that's why I sponsor a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I just really sponsor a young girl, a 9-year-old girl named Kathy. She lives in Uganda. She sings in the church choir, and now she's got me, backing her up. I think it's like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, especially to hear that not only are you donating the money you make from the song, but it's going to a good cause, and that it's actually going.
Don't let me misrepresent, Val. I'm not talking like some of the money. I'm telling you, 100% of the cash.
No, that's
Ave Maria is going to Hope for Kids International. 100%.
That's great. That's really great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honored. It's like the coolest thing, the coolest thing. You got to give it all back. Bro.
Yeah, and that's why I always believed. I'm a huge music fan, and music to me is really the universal language. Music is one thing that really has the power to bring people together, and I think it's a really great thing that you're doing there, And
well, thank you. Dude, let me tell you something. We sold a lot of records in our career. We've made a lot of music and done some wonderful things. My dreams have come true 100 times over. To do something like this, I can't tell you how good it makes me feel. Call me selfish. I'm doing it for selfish reasons. It makes me feel good. I don't care what anybody else has to say. You know what I mean? But all kidding aside, man, this is like so cool. And the people that do the work that are involved with Hope for Kids, they're great people. They're not a bunch of these suits putting up a front. These are people that care. People that really want to make a difference in a positive way. So dude, come on. It's a no-brainer. It's like the coolest thing in the world.
And like you kind of just point out, you lived out your rock and roll dream with Trixter. Now, let me ask you, how surprised were you a few years ago when the band got back together, at the fact that the fan base was still there, that you guys came back even stronger than people probably expected?
Dude, let me tell you, you said you were surprised. Well, the craziest part was that we found a scene out there where all the people, I guess, think about it. I was young 20s at the time.
Yeah.
Most of the people were like late teens, early 20s that were following us. Now it's 25 years later or whatever. I mean, I'm 49.
Yeah.
And I guess there's people out there who have the desire, they have the means, and they have the festivals that are in place to accommodate them with all these great bands from back then.
Yeah.
They're taking their kids to the freaking shows, man. We got a whole new generation of people to play to. You look at Guitar Hero and stuff like that. Yeah. They're incorporating all this music from back then into today's culture.
Yeah, and
Talk about a freaking score. I mean, it's unbelievable. So the fan base is growing. It's a beautiful thing. And bigger
and badder than ever. I mean, and you'd be amazed, Mark, but I think with this solo album you're going to be putting out, it's just going to be putting the Trixter name out there once more again. I mean, I was amazed a couple of years ago where your guitar player, Steve Brown, he played with Def Leppard when their guitar player Vivian Campbell was ill.
That's right. That's right.
So just more props to you and your band, but. Talk a little bit about the song Ave Maria. I mean, is this an original song you wrote, or is this another?
No, Ave Maria is a very old song, as a matter of fact. It's very popular in the Catholic religion. It's a song to Mother Mary. It's kind of funny. I actually got the idea from doing it. But I guess I knew the song from classical music, but I didn't really fall in love with it until I saw a certain episode of the TV show The West Wing.
Wow.
And they featured the song in one of the episodes, and man, the way they did it really touched me. So I started listening to it. There was also another, the movie Hitman. You ever see that movie Hitman?
No.
They made a big video game off it. They made a movie out of it. There's Hitman Part 1 and Hitman 47. The Hitman franchise is actually pretty big. And they used Ave Maria as one of the background songs to, I guess it's kind of like a juxtaposition, using a beautiful classical music song to this dude killing people. It was amazing.
Wow.
But I got to tell you, they did a version with like a young boy singing the vocal, and it's very angelic and put the trumpet on it.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to make it nondescript as far as a voice, making the trumpet where it's not language oriented, it's more melody oriented. And man, I got to tell you, it really touched me. And it was kind of a test because I never really played trumpet in a professional setting in a recording manner like that. I mean, I recorded stuff with an orchestra and with concert bands and things like that, but I never did it as like a solo artist.
Wow.
You know? And I thought of Kenny G. He's my guy. I love that guy. So I said, let me see if I can be Kenny G on trumpet. Let me grab this thing. I went over to Pete's house, singer from Trixter.
Yeah.
He lives in Phoenix, and he had a studio over there. So I said, dude, put up a mic. Let's see what we can do with this thing. So we put down the track. Then I put the horn over it. We get down the middle, and he looks at me and goes, this sounds pretty good.
Wow.
You know, I wasn't quite sure. I mean, I had an idea in my head, and I had a little, drive in my heart, I guess. I said, let's see what we can do, man. Let's see what we can do. And, man, I got to tell you, after 2 takes, it was done.
I'm pretty excited now. I can't wait to check out the rest of the album. But I got to ask you. You mentioned that you played with orchestras and stuff.
Yes.
Depending on how well this album does, have you ever given any thought to maybe doing like a symphonic or an orchestral type of a project?
I most certainly would. But there's 2 things. Number one, time.
Yeah.
That's the biggest restraint. That's the time you've got between doing Trixter stuff, between doing solo stuff, between spending time with my kids.
Yeah.
Would I like to? Absolutely. I was very fortunate, I guess, back when I was a sophomore in high school, I received this special citation from the National Association of Jazz Educators.
Wow.
It was a certificate of excellence, and I was recommended to go to the University of Hartford's Harp School of Music. So when I was a sophomore, a junior, and senior in high school, I got to go to college to play music. And while I was at the University of Hartford, I actually recorded 3 double albums of classical music.
Wow.
So the educational experience of doing that at that age, I was like, forget about it. It was the greatest thing in the world. But again, playing with a symphonic orchestra versus playing, me standing alone in front of a mic is a big freaking difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I had the idea in my head, and I had a visualization what I wanted it to sound like. But, what you want and what you get isn't always the same thing.
Yeah, well, you might be surprised. I mean, even if you got those tapes from years ago, the music business being what it is today, I mean, it's much more easier where you'd be able to put that stuff out even just for fans to check out if they wanted to. So that's another cool option you have. But getting back to the album now, I also seen there's a video for Amazing Grace that was up on YouTube. Is that going to be on the album as well?
No, that's really weird. You're the second person today alone to ask me about that. I did that because a friend of mine's father passed away.
Oh, okay.
I did that for them. They said, Gus, I wish you could come here and play. So instead of, I couldn't fly out. I was time constrained. I just put it on YouTube and I sent it over to them. And apparently a lot of people like it. So, I mean, it's pretty awesome. And God bless. That's a wonderful thing. And, I just love to play.
And see, that's a cool thing,
I don't get the opportunity to play horn all the time. So the idea that this whole solo project is sparking some things for me to do in this venue, it's like, wow, I'm so glad that so many people are really digging it.
Yeah, you're going outside of your comfort zone, your what people know you typically from, and it's kind of cool to see that people are responding to. Now, let me ask you. I know the song and the video just came out this week, but what kind of response have you got since you posted it?
It's been freaking fantastic, man. I can't tell you. I'm smiling right now because I can't, it's kind of weird. I remember standing in Pete's studio, looking at it and saying, I don't know what's going to happen with this thing, but I got to try it. And he's like, okay. Now we're standing here. We're going, Jesus Christ, remember that day back in the studio?
I mean, and more power to you, Mark, because, I mean, you go back to, when Trixter was first signed, I mean, think how different things were back then. I mean, a lot of times people didn't even hear anything until the album was officially released, and so it's great that you can put the song out there before the album's even released and kind of find out, okay, people are digging this, I think that's...
Jason, you're dead on the money. You just really nailed something right there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird. I have this new saying. It's like being an artist is a selfish kind of thing. You do it for yourself first.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a negative thing to say, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's the truth. When I heard Ave Maria, I said, I want to do it because I had this feeling inside, and I wanted to go to the studio and try to create what I was feeling down on tape. You know what I'm saying? And I thought about whether the public would accept this last. That was the last thing I was worried about. I said, let me try to get this feeling down, like what I'm hearing in my head, this whole idea. Let me try to get it down, make it. I want to create that sound out in the open, what I'm hearing inside,
Yeah.
So whether public is going to accept it or not, that was the last thing I was worried about. But the fact now that it's down and recorded, you want to share it with the world because I'm proud of the way it came out. I love the way it sounds. Pete did such a great of doing the engineering in the studio, and I pointed in the right direction on certain things. And man, I got to tell you, just listen to it.
Oh yeah.
I'm not patting myself on the back.
No.
I'm just so happy that it came out what I was hearing inside. Sometimes you hit the studio, you have an idea for a song.
Yeah.
But once you finish something, that's like, I don't really what I started with, but But this man, I'm just so happy. I'm so honored that people dig it.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
If someone said, Alex Van Halen, go pick up that trumpet and go play Ave Maria, you'd be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you say that, though, Mark, because in talking, I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice. And I think that's, besides the fact that it's just a great tune and a great video, I think part of the reason people are digging it is because it is music that is coming from your heart, as opposed to just going in there and saying, well, I have to have a country song, I have to have a metal song, I have to have a pop tune,
Jason, I tell you what, you mark my words. I'm going to put you in quotes on this one. Yeah. When you hear me start doing country songs on the trumpet, that's when you know that I'm bullshitting you, all right?
Yeah. But I mean, there are guys that go in the studio, and the whole project is very contrived, and we have to have this, it has to sound this way, whereas a lot of times with guys like you that go in and you're just doing stuff that's really coming from the heart, and people listen back to it, they can tell it's from the heart,
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, you really nailed it. No one's paying me to do this.
Yeah.
I do it because I want to. And, I finance it myself. And you do it because that's what I feel I can't not do it. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, like I said, the last part is public acceptance. I hope they like it, but if they don't, guess what? I'm going to freaking do it anyway.
Yeah.
But now, again, I hope they like it. And so far, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. So I really can't. I can't thank everyone enough, and the support I get from people on my Facebook page, the Mark Scott Army, and Mark Scott fans overseas. And again, I'm telling you what, I have a lot to be thankful for, and I certainly it doesn't go by unnoticed. I'm a very fortunate person. There's a lot of love out there, and I just can't tell you how overwhelmed I am. I really am.
And let me ask you, Mark, have you given any thoughts to, like, if the album starts to really sell well, of doing like one-off shows, maybe like any live performances to support this?
Well, I don't want to make any announcements quite yet, but I got to tell you, come this holiday season, there's my intention to play some live.
There, okay, wow.
When the time is right, you're going to know about it.
We'll read between the lines there, but I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if things go, again, the record isn't even out yet. So the fact that everybody's banging on my door, I see that as a good sign. And God bless America. It's a wonderful thing. But we'll take it as it goes. And the bottom line, if there's people that want to hear me play, guess what? I'm coming. So I'm ready to go.
I think the Mark Scott fans are waiting for this because it's been a while since Trixter's put out anything new, and people really weren't expecting this. I mean, this press release kind of just came out in the last week, in the video and everything, and so people kind of a little shocked by all this. And like you said, it's coming. I understand it's going to be released on Thanksgiving, which is like a real great holiday gift. So thanks for that.
Oh, Jay, God bless you. Dude, thank you. I got to say, even just having me on today for something trumpet oriented, I'm honored. I mean, I can't tell how much I really appreciate people's interest because, quite frankly, I didn't know how interested they were going to be.
Yeah.
It's radically different. And the thing is now, it's not weird. Like when you do things as a band, you do it as a unit, and everybody has their job to do, and together you kick it in the butt. When it's all on your shoulders. It's kind of a different thing, and I'm like, oh boy,
Yeah.
But man, I'm also just having fun with it. It's the real reward is to have a CD in my hands that I made myself, that I had a feeling inside to do something. I heard these things in my head, and I wanted to get them down a certain way. And I'm just so proud of the material, proud of the way it came out. And Pete helped me so much with that in the studio. He is truly like my best friend.
That's great.
In fact, we did it together, and man, I'm just so happy on that platform alone. And again, so far the response from what people have been coming back to me with is overwhelmingly positive. I can't tell you just how thankful I am. And I tell you what, one thing's for sure, this Christmas is going to freaking rock. I swear to God, I'm really, really excited. Really excited.
Yeah, that it sounds like it. And a thought that just popped in my head speaking to you about this project today is, okay, now obviously I'm talking to you because I'm a Trixter fan. That's where I know you from. And so I'm kind of interested in hearing the solo album, the rest of it, but how cool is this that there are going to be people hearing this music, hearing this solo album, that have never heard anything about Trixter. They put on this solo album, they find out a little bit about who Mark Scott is. Oh, he's a drummer in this other band. They check out, and then they're going to go check out Trixter and see what that's all about.
It's a whole reverse thing, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, the whole thing's topsy-turvy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You nailed it. That sort of thing's going to happen. And, God bless. That's wonderful. It's, it's funny. Just last month I went, I don't go to shows a lot, but more recently a lot of shows passed through Phoenix. I went to Metallica. I went to Mr. Big. I went to Hall & Oates. And we go backstage and we see people and stuff like that. Tonight, I'm going to see Kenny G.
Wow.
So, it's kind of weird. I met him 20 years ago in New York. He was so nice. And then he was playing a show at Radio City, and he saw me in the crowd. He walked up to me and started playing. It was really weird. But you're right. He was familiar with Trixter.
Wow.
So, the idea of hobnobbing with that circle of people, and funny thing, George Benson is playing with him tonight.
Wow.
And George is from like 2 towns over from where I lived, and we used to eat dinner at a local Japanese restaurant. So it's really fun to see all these cats from different worlds that have Trixter as a common element. It's kind of weird. And you're right, the fan base does filter through, forward and reverse through those channels. It's a weird kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of talking a little bit about the power of internet for a while. I mean, that's a great thing about the internet these days. You can market yourself much easier, and the funny thing is there are places in the world where you haven't even performed live, Mark, and people are going to be checking out this music or because it's posted online or whatever.
From your mouth to God's ears, bro. God bless you.
Yeah. And so now, how many songs are going to be on the album? Have you decided yet?
Yeah, it's done. It's all in 7. There's 7 songs.
Okay.
4 of which are recognizable Christmas songs. I'll give you the track rundown. The first song is a song called "The Gift from God." That's an original composition that I did.
Wow.
It's all horn-oriented. It's pretty wild. It's orchestral. That goes into Ave Maria. That one that we talked about. After that, it's Silent Night.
Oh, cool.
Yep, there you go. A lot of horns. One thing I think that I did different than a lot of cats out there, whether there's a solo horn player or even the Kenny G, stuff like that, I did a lot of harmonies. I did a lot of structure as far as harmonies and capitalizing on that and making that the real focus of the song, that when it came to the crescendo, when it came to the build, when it came to the orgasmic height of what's going on, the harmonies just took it away. It's very angelic. And I wanted to really capitalize on that. And I can't say something it's just completely out of control. It's like, whoa. So I really get off on that sort of thing. After Silent Night is the dance tune. I took Little Drummer Boy.
Oh, cool.
And we put a heavy dance beat to it.
Wow.
And Pete played electric guitar on the end, so kind of like heavy metal at the end.
Wow.
Crazy. Kind of like Trans-Siberian Orchestra, just about, where they took the heavy metal guitars and put it over classical music, that sort of thing. And I put a dance beat on it. So you got to hear that one. That one kicks butt.
I can't wait to hear it all. Now, let me ask you. Talk a little bit about the original tune. I mean, what was it like? How did you go about writing that song? I mean, this is instrumental music, so it's a lot different than like playing the drums and writing a typical rock tune.
There's technically 2 instrumental songs, two original instrumental songs on here. One is a full-blown symphony orchestra.
Wow.
A song I call what the hell I call it? Symphony for Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And I actually originally wrote it for a movie soundtrack that I was working on for a movie called The Monkey King. The Monkey King is the biggest movie out of China that actually I'm working with a company I'm promoting in America.
Okay.
We have a video game coming out for that, and I scored the video game.
Wow.
So the music was originally composed for the movie, but then I revamped it a little, and I actually turned it. It sounds like Santa getting ready to get in the sleigh to take off to deliver all the presents for Christmas.
How cool is that? Wow.
That's why I retitled the song, and I did a different mix and mastered it and whatnot. And man, I got to tell you, it just sounds like that is a full-blown symphony orchestra. I'm talking French horns, string sections, cellos, violins, flutes, clarinets, string bass, timpanis, like wild, like full-blown symphonic. Horns of all and they're talking about harmonies and full orchestral arrangement. That's the sucker. I mean, we're talking like John Williams on this one, dude.
Wow.
That's a pretty heavy. Mixing it was a complete pain in the ass.
Yeah, you might be surprised because it's interesting. Like, if you do the project right, and it sounds cool, a lot of people dig. I mean, a lot of people, they think sympathy, symphonic music, sucks or whatever. But I mean, for example, when people say keyboards don't belong in rock music, I say, well, you listen to anything John Lord did, and you tell me that keyboards don't. And look at Deep Purple. They did a symphonic album, years ago.
Absolutely.
So, anything is capable.
You're touching on an interesting subject right there. Let's first start off by saying we're in the 21st century.
Yeah.
That's number one. So now here's the reality of it. Let's take myself, for example. I'm a guy, I have this thing in my head, oh man, I want this song, I want to play this song. How do I make it sound the best I can?
Yeah.
Should I go out and get 30 guys to sit in a room and play in an orchestra? Really? You think I'm going to be able to pull that? You know what it takes to pull that over?
Oh, yeah.
You know what the payroll is on something like that?
Oh, yeah, but you may...
Or
yeah.
should I just get a keyboard and a nice sound bank?
There you go.
I got a good sound for violins, and I get a good sound for string bass, I got a good sound for French horns, and I'm going to compose this thing myself in multi-track.
Yeah, there you go. You make a very good...
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. There's people that want to give that the negative nudge. Oh, you got to use real strings. Oh, you know what? You got to do nothing. You don't have to buy the record if you don't like it.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I hear this kind of crap all the time, and even Howard Stern talks about this kind of stuff, and I applaud him. He says, listen, you don't like what you hear, you're not digging it, turn the damn station, or don't buy the record. Don't listen to the interview. I don't care.
There you go.
It's America, pal. This is not, some communist country. I don't care.
Yeah.
This whole thing started, like I said, it's kind of a selfish thing. I had this feeling inside. I wanted to make it come out a certain way. Whether everybody hated it or not, I wanted to do it because that's what I felt inside. I had to do it. And Pete had a studio. So that's why I did it.
Yeah.
What am I going to not do it?
I hear you.
So at the end of the day, we have a recorded piece of material, and you say, shoot, what am I going to do with it? Might as well post it. Might as well put it out there. Hey, Gus, why don't you make a Christmas record? Hello? Now, does that mean I should cancel everything I did and start calling everybody in the Phoenix Symphony Orchestra to show up at Pete's house at noon on Friday?
No. I hear you.
So, I mean, you could always have these guys sitting at a couch somewhere in the middle of Montana saying, oh, that's not real classical music.
Yeah.
All right, take it easy, tough guy.
Well, I mean, I think people would be surprised, like, even you take a guy like Richie Blackmore, that's a great example right there, because everybody knows him from Deep Purple and Rainbow, and you look at what he's doing now. I mean, I'll admit this myself. He's got this band now, Rainbow's Night or Blackmore's Night with his wife. It sounds nothing like Deep Purple or Rainbow. And your publicist, a couple years ago, he sent me their latest CD at the time. I thought, what? I'm a Richie fan. I'm going to check this out. And it doesn't sound nothing like Deep Purple. I thought, you know what? Yeah, it's a little folkier. It's more neoclassical, but it's not bad. And I think more people would check that stuff out. They might be surprised. Okay, don't be so easy to judge things.
Right. And dude, let me tell you something. I'll bet you $1 million. Richie's not doing it just because someone said, oh, Richie, you have to do this. Here's the money. He's going, you know what? Richie Blackmore don't do nothing if he don't want to do it.
Yeah. So true.
Because he wants to do it, And like I said before, this whole thing of being an artist, music or otherwise, you do it because you feel it inside. That's what you want to do, man. You want people to like what you do, but you don't do it just for them. You do it for yourself.
Yeah,
and maybe that's a selfish thing to say. Maybe it's not the most politically correct thing to say. I'm just being honest with you, dude. I did Ave Maria first because it was calling to me, and I wanted to make it come out a certain way for me. And again, maybe that's not the thing I should be saying when you're trying to sell a Christmas record, but I'm telling you the truth. I did it because I couldn't help not doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to make it come out right and be proud and say, wow, that's what I was feeling inside. That's what I'm talking about, man. And now that I have it, well, shoot, I want to put it out there, and I hope people friggin' like it. That's it. You know, and you know what? If there's some guy that says, oh, that's not real classical, fine.
Yeah.
I'll live, darling.
I mean, Mark, you can't please everybody, but see, the cool thing about this, like you said, it's a solo project, and if you were to put out you would put out an album sounded, 100% like a Trixter album, people are going to say, oh, he's just, he's trying to do the Trixter thing, where that's what you want to do when you do a solo project. You want to go out of your comfort zone. You want to do something a little different than what you typically do. And I think that's why people are going to dig this. Now, let me ask you, did you record the songs all like around the same time, or were they sporadically recorded throughout the year?
Let's see, it was about 4-month period that I actually recorded.
Yeah.
So, in the midst of doing other stuff, I recorded, let's see, there's a couple weeks I knocked out a good 80% of it, and maybe 20% of it I did sporadically, so to speak. But also because I had to deal with Pete's schedule and my schedule, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, the whole thing was done from beginning to end in about a 4-month period.
Oh, cool.
Something like that. So, yeah, it wasn't like a 2-year project for crying out loud.
No.
But being that, we're busy guys, that, we kind of did it in our spare time, if you will. But to knock out 7 songs from beginning to mix and mastering in 4 months, I'm happy with that. And you know what? If it took a year, it would have taken a year. At the end of the day, it was the finished product that we were really concerned about, making it sound right. And, it was like the stupid little things I said, dude, we got to take a look at that song. I'm just not happy with the mixing. Look and go, what, are you crazy? It sounds great. I'm like, no, we got to do something. I did, and I did that because I just wanted to be just right, what I was hearing in my head, and wanted to make sure it was coming out just the right way, And
so how happy were you when you heard the final product? All the tracks recorded, and you mastered everything, and you heard the final product.
It's weird. The test track was Ave Maria, and that was to see whether my idea in my head was actually going to work.
Yeah.
So when I had that one done, and I sat back and I lit a candle, and I was just listening to it, having a drink, I said, Jesus Christ, it really sounds good.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I'm telling you, I was just very happy with the way it came out. So we did that. Pete looked at me, he goes, that sounds really good. I told the idea before we started, and he looks at me and goes, well, I don't know, dude. So then at the end, we're listening to it, we look at each other, and he goes, well, that was pretty good. So we were both really happy. And then we did another song. I'm trying to think what the second one was. That wasn't it. I think it was Silent Night. I think we did Silent Night second. And it came out really good again. And it was particularly the harmonies. And Silent Night at the very end is like a full brass harmony thing. It's really, really nice. And I put some string cello on it and stuff. And it really sounds classy. Really nice. And now that we have 7 songs with a completed mastered disc, it's like, wow, I remember we just did it a couple of weeks ago where we finally mastered it, and we sat back and listened to the whole thing twice.
Yeah.
We just look at each other like, damn, it's really on.
Wow.
And then we take it from the studio, go to the car to see the difference between the sound in the studio versus the sound in your car. We did the comparative analysis in the audio stuff. And then we would look at each other and go, we're just both really happy.
Wow, I can just, it's so cool to be talking to you, because I can just hear the enthusiasm in your voice, and like you said, the album's not even out yet, and so that's really a great thing. Now, let me ask you, as far as purchasing the album, are people going to be able to get actual physical CDs, or is it going to be just...
Absolutely. Right now, we're actually doing a pre-order. If you go to markgusscott.com, you can, number one, download the record if you want to download it right now. Also doing pre-orders, doing special autograph pre-orders that are free 8x10 that comes with it, right at markgusscott.com. So yes, there will be physical CDs. Unfortunately, no vinyl, but we'll see what happens.
It's funny you say that, though. I mean, it's funny you say that, because it's amazing to me that vinyl has been making such a huge comeback.
Can you believe it?
I can't.
Can you freaking believe it?
Yeah.
You know what they're charging for some of this vinyl?
Yeah, I mean, I even go on Amazon, and I see things on there for like $17, $19, and sometimes higher. Just depends what it is.
Is that crazy or
Yeah.
what? I mean, if anybody says Gus vinyl's coming back, I'd say shut up.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I know exactly what you're talking about. And let me tell you something. I really haven't looked into it, but wouldn't that be cool to get like a limited run on vinyl?
Yeah. Has Trixter thought about re-releasing any of your catalog on vinyl or anything like that?
Let me tell you something. Our first two records, Trixter, the first one, and here, our second record, they were actually printed on vinyl. We were one of the last bands to be printed.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. I'm giving my age here, but yeah, I was around back in the day. Yeah.
But the idea of a re-release, I love it. Honestly, we haven't explored it, but let me tell you something. I think that's a noble idea, my friend. Yeah. We might have to have you head this up for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the bands from back in the day are doing that. I mean, it's amazing, and it just amazes me, that all the big bands are.
What's really interesting, what you're touching on, people buy the vinyl simply for the fact because it's on vinyl. It's like the artist is secondary. They, dude, that vinyl. They're buying vinyl for the sake of having the source of medium, not because the artist itself. I mean, obviously they want to buy their artist they like, but a lot of cats are buying it to just expand upon their vinyl.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of people got rid of their turntables and don't even have turntables, but they go out and buy the vinyl because they think it's valuable, And
well, now it's becoming this collector designer thing,
Yeah.
It's very boutique kind of a club to be vinyl oriented. And for people that don't know, it is my understanding that the best sound reproduced source of recording was done on vinyl, that it truly reproduces the sound that's recorded better than even a CD.
Yeah, and I just got as a rock fan, I just got to thank you, Mark, for continuing to release like physical CDs, because I tell you, I'm a guy, old school guy. I love to have something in my hand to hold. I love to read the liner notes.
So do I, bro. And you know what? The real thing that's really cool about the CD, I got some liner notes and people to thank and stuff like that. And you know what? I remember being a kid, and I remember getting my freaking CDs, and I wanted to read every damn piece of. I wanted to read the trademark little bullshit at the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I hear you. I mean, the sad thing to me about technology, as great as it is, a lot of kids today, they don't even know what a record is, let alone a record store. What's that? I mean, unless you go to the European countries or Japan, it's very, outside of Best Buy in the United States, there's very few record stores, which to me is a very sad thing. I remember going to Tower Records and checking out all the new releases and plotting when I was
man, flipping through the vinyl. Hell yeah. And you had the artwork that was in your face, man,
Yeah.
When I got Fat Out of Hell by Meatloaf, and that dude was on the motorcycle blasting out of the graveyard. That was the coolest thing in the world.
I mean, it's funny you say that, because, I mean, I remember being a kid and never hearing about Iron Maiden, knowing who they were, but I seen a Number of the Beast album, and I thought, man, that looks so cool, that album cover, I gotta get it.
Hell yeah, dude, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's you got absorbed. It was a tangible thing, and when you had the album, you said it was mine.
Yeah.
You could hold it, you could look at it, you checked out the inside sleeve, and it was a physical, tangible thing. And man, I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
A primal thing. It was really cool. It was an experience to hold the record and to examine that album cover. Like, dude, let me tell you something. I think it was the first LP that I bought personally. It was the Gene Simmons solo album when they all did their individual songs.
Yeah.
And I looked into the eyes of Gene Simmons, and he was looking back at me, and I said, one day I'm going to be like that.
Now let me ask you, Mark, because I know back in the day, you guys opened up for Kiss. What was that like, going from being a kid that was a Kiss fan to having your band open up for these guys?
Dude, let me tell you something. The weirdest thing, one of the weirdest things in the world, that it was 1992, and we just finished our second record here with Trixter, and we got the call to go out on with Kiss, and it was really crazy. I just remember getting the phone call from my manager. He says, I knew something was up. I didn't know what, but we knew there was some negotiation about some band that wanted to take us out on a big tour. So I'm like, oh my God. So a manager calls my house, and my mother's house. He calls, and he goes, Gus, get a pen. I said, oh my God. So he goes, February 15th, Steel Arena, Pennsylvania. I go, no way. Wow. Then he goes,
Yeah.
That was the dream. Yeah, and I said, get the fuck out of here. Who are we playing with? He goes, Gus, you wanted the best.
You got the best. Hottest band in the world, Kiss.
So that was just what I ran outside.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, like the total movie moment, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
It was just like that. When he started reading off the itinerary and that we were going to play the Meadowlands again, I was like, who the fuck is it? He said, you wanted the best, you got that. I said, no, fucking not. Like, I'm thinking about it right now. It brings me back. It's like, dude, it was the highlight, the dream come true.
I bet.
Freaking moment. And I just couldn't even believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
I bet.
The idea, the first day of the tour, we're at Stabler Arena in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Gene Simmons comes in the dressing room. Now, we had met him a couple times prior and stuff, you know, and he was nice. But the idea, I wanted to welcome you to the tour, and like, get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
I hope I can curse on this show.
Oh yeah, that's perfectly fine. We're an internet show, so.
Because if I'm not allowed, you're gonna have to beat the crap out of me.
No. That's just
I'm telling you, man, it was so cool. And then it got to a point. We played about 4 nights a week with them on the arena circuit, and I would have dinner with Gene about 3 times a week. So the idea of talking with him and looking at him in those eyes, that I looked at the album cover when I was a kid, right in those eyes, it was a weird thing. You know?
Wow, yeah.
He knew it. That son of a bitch knew it. He knew what kind of inspiration he was to people and stuff like that. And he knew that I was the guy that liked Gene, you know? So we became buddies. He was really cool. And I got to tell you, dude, it was an amazing experience. Really something very, very special.
Yeah, well, before we wrap this up, just a few more things, Mark. But I wanted to ask you, now what's currently going on with Trixter? Do you guys have plans for another album?
You never know. You know what happens? If I say no right now, 2 weeks later we get a phone call.
Yeah.
The whole thing changes.
Yeah.
So right now, the weird part is everybody's doing like these sideline projects.
Oh,
It's Pete's got a couple bands in Phoenix he's working with. Stephen PJ playing with Eric Martin. They have other projects they've got going on. And the funny part is, I started this whole trumpet thing because all those guys were doing this other stuff. So I said, well, what the hell am I going to do?
Well, now on that note, let me ask you. Do you guys do you have a competitive nature? Kind of like, okay, let's see who's.
No, it's not a competition. Not at all.
That's great.
No,
okay.
No. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've been very fortunate. Like, for instance, Steve gets called from Def Leppard and plays it. God bless him.
Yeah.
That's not a competition. That's a golden dream, beautiful thing. And if he has those opportunities, then you do it. And I'll be the first one to step up and buy a ticket, bro. You know? I mean, that's awesome.
That's great. I love that. I love that.
Not a competition.
Not competition, but.
Competitions are with, both the lesser individuals. You know,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
And,
we
conquer things together.
Yeah.
We don't conquer against each other. We do it together, and that's the beauty of what we do, dude. It's not.
I'm glad to hear that because I'll give you an example. Like Motley Crue put out this their final show. They got a DVD of a final show in Los Angeles from their farewell tour, and Nikki Sixx is talking on there, and it's kind of sad. Like he's like, I've been playing with these guys for 35 years. We don't hang out like we used to. We played our last show. I may never run into these guys again. He goes, it's kind of a sad thing, but it's just the way things are. And I think that's very sad that a group of guys could play together that many years and just kind of go their separate way.
I hate to say it does sound sad. I'm sorry to actually hear that because it's my understanding they were pretty goddamn tight.
At one point,
Those dudes at one point were like, they were brothers.
Yeah.
Just like we are too. I mean, dude, I grew up and knew these guys from town before I was even in the band, you know?
Yeah.
Shit, I knew Steve. He used to bust my balls when I was in Continental Baseball. I think I was 11 years old. He'd be going, you struck out, you bastard, or something. You know what I mean? He'd bust my hump or whatever.
Yeah.
And, that's how I knew Steve from when he was like 9.
Yeah, now, Mark, before Trixter officially had split up, you had actually left the band while they were still together. Is that correct?
Yeah, January of '95, I did quit. It was a very sad point. And I always say you can ask me anything you want. I'll be flat out honest. It was a very sad time. I'll give you the rundown. Let's see. In 1991, we were rocking. Things were going very, very well. and something very strange happened. We were number one with our third video on MTV, Surrender. It was 2 weeks at number one, and MTV cut us at number one, and we would never play it on MTV again.
Wow.
Why? So we were the last number one video to be played on MTV. Why did that happen?
I don't know, but
it wasn't just a crime against Trixter. Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Great White, Winger, Warrant.
Yeah.
Every band in the genre took a huge freaking tumble. Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, they were selling 8 million, 10 million copies off their previous records. Guess what they sold the next time around without MTV support?
Yeah.
Bon Jovi was on like 2 million records.
Yeah, but
a band like Trixter, we sold 1 million records. What do you think our next record sold? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. But
when you lose 80% of your product sales in one cycle, that's a serious goddamn. I don't care if you sell garbage bags, golf balls, have a restaurant, or play rock and roll. It's a business freaking problem.
Oh, yeah.
And we were not able to collect ourselves properly and get into meetings or at least come up with a plan to do something.
Yeah.
So I guess I had a bad taste in my mouth, and I was angry and frustrated. And at a certain point, I said, you know what, guys? You know, it wasn't an ill will. I said, you know, I think I'm going to have to pass. I'm going to go home. And I hate saying even talking about it now, but that's
but you know that the thing, Mark, is it's good to get it out there because you're telling your story and people want to hear about it, and you're hearing it from your own mouth, and and it ended on a more positive note. I think the sweetest thing is the fact that, like I said, MTV stops playing you guys, but then when you decided to come back, I mean, you guys are still you're bigger and even bigger than you were back then.
Well, as I appreciate it, it's kind of weird. I tried to when I left, I wanted to do it on a friendly note, but I think the guys got angry at me. You know what I mean? That I left them hanging or something, and I didn't do that. I made sure that we had a replacement come in. Actually, my drum instructor is the guy that came out, Mike Luciano, who's a super guy, super player. And I called him. I said, would you be interested in coming out? And I made sure I didn't just vacate the spot and leave him with nobody. You know what I mean? That would be a real douchey thing to do.
Yeah. But
I think they had a bad taste in their mouth over the whole thing, But I guess after a certain time, water under the bridge, and then we looked into bigger and better things when we put it back together, and it's been a beautiful, beautiful thing. We're so lucky that we've had the opportunity to do it again.
Yeah, because even like you said, if you never put out another Trixter album, at least you guys have a satisfaction of saying, okay, we ended it on our terms. We didn't end it because MTV stopped playing it. But the cool thing too, now, Mark, is there really is no longer an MTV. I mean, there's a network called MTV, but they don't even play music. It's almost all.
Does that make any sense?
Reality.
I don't even understand what's going on.
Yeah, and so I think the fact that Trixter and other bands from back in the day, that you guys can survive without MTV, it shows that these rock bands aren't dead. That there's still a fan base for it. So I say all the more power to you guys. And now we got the Ave Maria video. And let me ask you: have you given any thoughts to making videos for any of other songs?
Yes. Yes, I have. I'm strongly considering, and I'm pretty sure this is what it's going to be. Little Drummer Boy will most likely be the main video that blows out this thing. See, there's two different. There's hell different ways. It's frustrating because I remember what we did with Trixter. I tried to, and that was a very sound plan that we had. What we first did, we didn't just come out with the first big single and bang it back out. First on the radio. We started with a rock track, Line of Fire, and we went to AOR Radio, the album-oriented rock stations, and we built a core following that deep roots rock crowd. We put it to Z-Rock. We did it to college stations, stuff like that. So we had almost like an underground following, if you will. And that was the core base that launched us to the next level of commercial hit radio, So by doing it, taking it step by step like that, it was the right move, the right way to proceed. So with Ave Maria, I try to do something more classical oriented and try to capture more of that classical crowd, something very different than a typical rock and roll or Trixter fan base, And then this Little Drummer Boy thing. Now that's a rocking track. It's got it's the most unique song on the record. It's got a big dance beat to it, like a house beat, a boost kind of thing, and it's got some heavy metal guitar. It's pretty rock. So
yeah.
the idea, I think it could be like a real cool crossover to it, and really could be a commercial hit radio.
Yeah. And I'd imagine,
it could be a commercial hit radio holiday song. It really could.
And I'd imagine that you'd be working with your son on these videos since he's so into directing videos.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, my son has been such an inspiration to me as far as doing something, particularly with the 9/11 project.
Yeah.
His interest in New York City has been so inspiring, and he wants to go to the city. Go, let Dad take me to the city. Dad, let's do it. And what he does, he takes his GoPro and he films the whole trip. From the time we get in the car, we get on the ferry across the Hudson, we go to the top of the Empire State Building, we go to the top of Rockefeller Plaza, all over, and then he puts it into a video. Says, "Here's the day I spent with my dad."
And now let me ask you, was he alive during the event, or was this something he learned about?
He was alive. He was very young. He was born in 2000.
Okay.
2000. So he was about one when it happened.
Yeah.
And he said he remembers our next door neighbor was a New York City firefighter, Kevin Tully, and he was off that day, and he came by to drop off his child for my wife to watch. My wife at the time to watch his kid, so he could run into the city and help. So he remembers that. He remembers all the commotion. He knows the pictures from CNN footage and stuff like that. And that's always captivating. And he wanted to learn more, wanted to find out more. So he said, "Dad, take me to Ground Zero. Dad, take me here." So, and he was filming, put it all together, he'd do research and say, "Dad, did you know?" I'm like, "My God, I lived here all my life and I always just took it for granted, but now he's got me interested in going back to the city again."
Now let me ask you, Mark, I understand.
Kind of inspired us to do that video for 9/11 for Ave Maria.
And let me ask you, Mark, I understand that you were living there in New York City at the time. I mean, what memories do you have from that specific date? I mean, it must be, one thing to hear about and see it on TV, but to actually be in
the... It was weird. I had a house in upstate New York in Orange County, and I was actually at the time a director of marketing for an indoor amusement park.
Wow.
So I was driving to work that day, and something comes on over the WINS radio. "Hey, plane, it's the World Trade Center." I'm going, what a moron. But the minute I heard that, I said, I know exactly what happened. Some little plane out of Teterboro took off, and there was a little fog, and they hit the damn building.
Wow.
I said, what a moron. I can't believe it. So I go up the hill as I'm driving to this job, and I look over the hill, and I say, oh, my God, I see the Trade Center. I see the smoke over it. I said, can you believe that plane hit that? I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then I said, wait a minute. If I could see the Trade Center from here, how the hell did that plane not see the Trade Center?
Yeah.
And then I started thinking to myself, what the frick? That doesn't make sense. Then the second plane hit, and I was close. And I'm looking up, and I'm like, holy crap! I just couldn't freaking believe it. The amount of smoke, the amount of crap that was in the sky. It was like, and then you knew it was a terrorist attack. It was certainly a planned event. It was a strike. So, oh my God. I mean, it was just the weirdest thing. And then you start watching the TV, and I was listening to Howard Stern, and people thought it wasn't over yet. Then the Pentagon got hit. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
What's going on? Yeah.
And then at the time, there was so much chaos. There was rumors that there was a bomb at the State Department, that the Georgetown Mall was on fire, that they're coming to Jersey. So all of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap. So I got the freak out of there, and I got back to my house. I got my guns out. I was ready to freaking go. I mean, when you live that close to it, and you start hearing the media talk about all this crap, there was literally just about panic in the streets. People were taking up arms ready to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was crazy. We thought that was ground zero for the attack.
That's the one thing.
So that was messed up.
Yeah, but one thing I think to come out of 9/11 back then, I thought it was a very beautiful thing how people came together, and as opposed to like what the world is like now, where everybody's hating on one another. You're not allowed to have different views. People are, wanting to take down statues and all this and destroy public property. I'm like, man, what?
Oh my God, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Can you freaking believe it? Can you freaking believe it? But it takes catalyzing a catastrophic event like that to bring everyone together.
Yeah, and I'll give you a perfect.
Crazy?
I'll give you a perfect example. I mean, here in Los Angeles, where I'm from, the mayor just a couple of weeks ago, he made this new law where they're not going to recognize Christopher Columbus Day because Christopher Columbus is a racist and he stole the land from Indians. And I'm like, wow, we're really trying to change history here instead of trying to learn from it. Yeah. Now, Mark, you say you don't know how many people are going to want to check this out because it's a holiday album, but you may forget that Twisted Sister, legendary New York band that known for I Wanna Rock and We're Not Gonna Take It. a couple years ago they put out a Christmas album, and it ended up being the best-selling album they ever put out. And it's what they're known for. It's what they're known for now. So you just never know. And I could always talk to you all day, Mark, but I want to take time to talk to me, and please keep my contact info. And anytime you have anything to promote, please feel free to reach out to me. And on that note, I want to ask, in regards to time, I understand there in Arizona that you guys don't have daylight savings. So how weird is that?
Dude, let me tell you something. 6 months out of the year, I'm 3 hours back from the East Coast.
Okay.
Another 6 months out of the year, I'm only 2 hours back.
Yeah.
And I live in Arizona. I don't even know when the hell it starts and ends. I'm telling you. But the crazy part is, we just stay the same. And everybody else that changes, and we're sitting there going, what the hell is everybody changing for?
yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, it's screwy, man. It is screwy. But I got to tell you, Arizona has 1 more hour of daylight a day than every other place in the country. We have 8 hours more daylight during the course of a week than anywhere else in the country.
Wow,
so guess what, man? We're rocking.
Yeah.
I don't care. I love it. Even when it's blazing hot, it's freaking awesome. I got a pool, I got air conditioning, and a nice cold vodka drink ready to go. So
Well, there you go. There you go. And before we wrap this up, I was just curious, as far as drumming goes, who would you say are some of the guys that influenced you to do what you're doing?
Oh, man. You know what? What started me off was Kiss Alive 2.
There you go.
When I heard Peter Criss hit that cowbell and then blast that freaking snare drum, it was nothing like it, dude. When I heard Dr. Love,
There you go.
and then he blasted it with the snare. I was like, yeah! You know what I'm saying? Between that, and then when I saw Van Halen on MTV doing Unchained,
Wow.
holy crap. When David Lee did the big split off the drum riser, and Alex smacked the living crap out of that snare drum. There was nothing like that. I remember going to my first concert. It was Foreigner 4, the one they did with Urgent and Jukebox Hero. And then when that bass drum pummeled the arena, I said, that's what I want to do.
Wow,
You know what I mean? So it was the combination of those 3 events all coming together. I had focus. I knew exactly what I wanted to do in life. I said, man, now I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do it just like that.
Yeah. And you mentioned at the top of the interview, you weren't originally a drummer, so I was curious, how old were you when you did start playing the drums?
I started playing when I was about 12. Formally started, got my first drum set at 13. I used to play on buddy sets and stuff like that. So I guess officially it's 13. And let's see, I got into Trixter when I was 16.
Wow.
So yeah, that was I didn't have to practice too long.
Yeah, I got to ask you, in regards to that, when you go back and you look at that, Give It To Me Good video, I mean, what was the reaction on your face? Because, I look at it, like you said, you guys were so young at the time. And I tell you, that was the song that turned me on to Trixter. I seen the video and the song, and immediately I just thought, man, this is good time music. This is, what it's all about. These guys, you watch the video and you're like, these guys are buddies. They just know how to have a good time. And I think that's what turned on a lot of people to you guys.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I got to say, I agree with you. The funny part is, when we finished the record and it was time to make a video, the record company says, oh, we have this producer and this producer. They have treatments they'd like to submit. I was like, this sheets of paper that said, I have a vision.
Wow.
I see you flying through clouds. And we see this, and we start reading, we're like, were they fucking crazy? Like, that's not what we're about, you know what I mean? So then we told the record company, we mentioned that we have us telling the record company what to do. We said, we have an idea. We want to show us being us in our element. So we filmed it in Paramus, New Jersey, where we grew up. We played football, we ride dirt bikes, we play rock and roll.
There you go.
So what's in the video? Dirt bikes, playing rock and roll, hanging out with chicks and going to the diner. You know what I mean? So that's what we did. We tried to film segments of us playing, and then the segments of us playing, having fun, and doing what we did in Paramus, New Jersey. So that was like the idea, man. Be real.
And Mark, and
bull crap story, just show Trixter is Trixter.
Yeah, and I want to end this on this note, Mark. Just talk a little bit about that, that music video and what it did for you guys. But the music, rock fans haven't changed that much. The reason that video worked and that song worked for people was because, like you said, it was a real thing. It was authentic. It was you. And whereas, like with this solo project, this is the music that's in your heart. This is what you're what you want to get out there to your fans. So I think people are going to dig it. For the fact that this isn't Mark Scott going to the studio trying to do an album sounds like John Bonham or Carmine Appice. This is Mark Scott being Mark Scott. And I think that's why people are going to dig it.
Dude, I appreciate that, and you know what? You nailed it. It's true. In fact, a lot of people also don't know. I actually played trumpet on a couple Trixter tracks.
Wow.
On Nobody's a Hero. On Here, I played a couple of two. I played on that song, and there was something else we did a demo on. Some that didn't come out, but I think I played on another song too. I just can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it's not the first time I whipped it out, but as far as being like the lead voice, yeah, it's the first time I've ever done it.
Wow.
But yeah, the trumpet is something I played before I played drums.
Wow, amazing!
Like 11
and see,
like
that's a part of your story that not too many people know. I mean, people just hear the name Mark Scott. Oh, he's a drummer. And so I think people are going to be, digging to hear this. That there's a little more to Mark Scott than
from your mouth to God's ears, Jason. I can't tell how much I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I really had a pleasure talking to you, my friend, and hopefully we can do it again down the line. But I'll be sure to let you and Chip know when this interview gets posted. And once I've had a chance to get my hands on the CD and hear it from top to bottom, I'd like to maybe do a follow-up so we could specifically talk about the songs and
Absolutely, dude. I've got your info. I'll make sure we zap you something on it. I mean, I'm happy to send you a copy. It's all yours, bro. I'd love you to hear it and get me your feedback, and I'm just totally up for it. Absolutely, and thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark, and we will follow up. And if you want to just reach out to Chip too, he knows how to get in touch with me as far as all that goes.
Outstanding. I'll make sure it happens, bro.
Take care, my friend. Bye bye. I'll be in touch.
Jason, thank you, bro. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
You too. Keep on rocking. Bye bye.